Okay, our spur straps are oiled, and sometimes when you use this acrylic paint, you'll get a little bit of excess oil buildup on the areas where it's painted. That's just because the oil doesn't penetrate through those painted areas. It occurs if you don't water down the paint as much sometimes, or if you use the acrylic paint at its full potency or its full power and don't mix it with water. Either way, after you oil it, let it set for a little bit, and then you can just wipe off the excess oil with a towel and go to work. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go through the antiquing process. I've got other videos out there on the YouTube channel on how I do this. I've covered this in detail. I'll just go and I'll run through it real quick. So this is what I use for antiquing. Although you maybe can't tell because this thing's so dirty. This is the Finalizing brand tan coat. I use this as a resist, also as a finish. Then the antiquing itself, the Finalizing brand antique finish paste in dark brown. That's what I'm going to be using today. Finalizing makes antique finish paste in a number of different shades. I'm going to use dark brown this afternoon, and I find that this is a good contrast or a balance between too dark and not dark enough. So this is just right. So this is what you're going to need to antique. The two Finalizing products, tan coat, antique paste. I have some sheep's wool liner. You can get drops from a saddle shop. You can order these from Tandy Leather or your leather supply. Obviously, I've used these liners or this sheep's wool quite a bit. They're not quite used up yet, but you can go ahead and get you some brand new pieces or swatches, and that's what you use to apply the tan coat and the antique paste with. And then of course the ever important disposable gloves. I wear these when I do my antiquing. You don't have to wear them. I like to wear them just because the antique paste kind of gets all over everything, and you're wearing it on your hands for the rest of the day and getting it all over everything else. And the backdrop here doesn't make for a good backdrop, but what I have here to protect my bench is just an old trash bag. I fold up these trash bags and put them on the shelf when I'm not antiquing. Every time I antique, I get the trash bags out and put it on my workbench surface, so I'm not getting antique paste all over the workbench. So we'll get right into it. First step is going to be the tan coat. So take my swatch and just get a little bit on the swatch here, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a pretty liberal coat of tan coat and cover the entire spur strap surface here. And if you rub too hard, you're going to find that some of your paint might come off, especially if you cut it with water. That's okay. Wouldn't worry about that too much. It's just part of the process. Go ahead and apply a light coat to the buckle fobs. Let that set for a second and give it a chance to dry, and then we'll move on to the paste. Okay, paste time. This is a swatch I use for applying the antique paste. You can see it's kind of a gel. It's not even a gel. It's really a paste consistency in there. And of course, if you got a brand new swatch of wool, it's not going to look like this. I've used these several times to apply paste and antique stuff, so I'm just going to keep on using them. They're not quite used up yet. So I get a liberal amount of paste on my swatch here, or my applicator, and I'm going to just rub it onto the surface of the spur strap pretty liberally. Want to make sure I cover everything here. Get it down in all the cracks and crevices, all our knife cuts, all of our deeper recessed areas that we stamped. And I'm going to go around the edge of the spur strap with it as well. Move on. That's pretty good for that one. We got pretty good coverage on there. Move on to the next one here. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera too much. Don't be afraid to get it in there. Get it in those cracks and crevices. Go around the perimeter. Over here to my buckle fobs. And this is why I wear gloves, because it gets all over everything. Go over this and just be 100% sure. In those areas where we used our pedal lifter, want to make sure we're in there pretty good with the paste. Make sure we got good coverage on that flower. That flower center, remember I painted it white. Want to make sure we get that antique paste in that flower center pretty good. And that's good for as far as the paste. I've got a towel over here to the side. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to clean my hands off a little bit, because what we're going to do now is we're going to wipe the excess paint off. And go ahead. We'll start with this one. This is the first one we antiqued. It's starting to dry a little bit. It's getting a little bit dull. It's perfect time to go ahead and wipe the excess off. You can really start to see the antique kind of take shape. You can see the character it's building in the spur strap with the color that we painted and the flower carving, the tooling that we did, our background. It's really starting to take shape and come together. And try to get all the excess off there. Leave some of the antique in those low areas. Wipe the excess off the buckle fobs. I see something in here. Now, at this point, you're going to think, oh, why? What are we doing? Why do we do this? Why do we paint that flower center white with these little lines and that kind of that lavender or that, what do we call it, lilac little lines? Why do we do that? It's kind of popping out. It doesn't look, kind of looks funky. I'm going to go and I'm going to add a little bit more antique into the center of the flower. I'm going to leave it in there. I'm just going to mess with it. In this case, I feel like I didn't get enough antique in there into those cracks and crevices in the center of the flower. And this is something that you can do with practice. You're just going to have to trial and error. So there we go. I put that on there. I'm going to wipe off the excess again. That looks a little bit better to me. And because we mixed the paint with water, the translucency in the paint is kind of showing through, and you can still see some of the brown of the leather through the painted areas. And that's okay. That's kind of the look I was going for. Maybe you don't want to go for that look. Maybe you want to leave the paint at solid full power. I don't know if that's called opaque. I'm not sure. I don't know the terminology for that. Maybe you want these colors to be bright and pop and be a solid purple, a solid green in those areas. Maybe you want to paint your stems, whatever. Make it your own. It's your project. Do what you want to do. This is kind of the look I'm going for. I'm not 100% sure if I like the way these centers came out. They look pretty cool, but I think maybe a little bit too much of that lilac paint in these petals here. The jury's out on that. I don't know. What do you think? The only way you know what it's going to do is to do it. It's trial and error. Next time, maybe not so much lilac in the center. So the final step to the antiquing process is to get your tan coat again. And remember, we put a coat of tan coat on in the beginning, and that acted sort of as our resist, so that the antique didn't soak in to the areas too much and really discolor the leather or really darken up the leather in these areas over here, around the perimeter, on the stems. That's why we use that as a resist. That's what a resist would be for, or that's the definition of a resist. Now our final step, we're going to take another coat of tan coat, and we're going to clean these up. We're going to wipe them down, clean them up, and this is when the project really pops. A little bit more on here, and we'll just set these aside. We'll let them dry, and then the next step will be sewing. We're going to go ahead and put our stitch and groove in. We're going to sew them up, and one more final finish of tan coat on them after these dry, and these will be a finished product. For those of you who are watching this video just for entertainment, maybe you're not a leather crafter, you can find spur straps like these, or this exact pair maybe, on the website at BuckarooGear.com for sale. Okay, these spur straps are just about ready to sew. I'm going to go over them one more time with a coat of tan coat and a clean towel. Just try to go around the perimeter of the spur strap and get, there's a little bit of streaking on there from the antique. I just want to get that. A clean towel or a clean swatch of sheep's wool will pull that up with a little bit of tan coat. It'll kind of clean that up a little bit. And then we'll run our stitching groover around here and we'll sew these up. Okay, we'll run our stitching groover around here and we'll go ahead and sew these up. Like I said in the previous part, or earlier in the video, if you don't have a sewing machine, it's perfectly fine to cut these and make these as a single layer spur strap. These are a 9/10 ounce Herman oak with a real thin veg tan liner on the back side. I've been doing spur straps like this for a while. This is my preferred method. It takes a little bit more time. In the end, costs a little more to the customer, but I just like the stitching on there. It makes for a stronger, long-lasting product. Not to say that you can't get good life out of a single ply. This is just my preference. There, we got our stitching groove done, and we'll move over to the sewing machine and go to sewing. Okay, we're back over here on the bench, and what we got is I'm going to burn the strings from the stitching. What this is it's a cordless soldering iron. It's made by Heiko. The model number is FX901. I've been using this for years to burn my strings. It's a it's a cordless, like I said, so it's battery powered. You got 4 AA batteries in there. I just use rechargeable batteries. I've got a handful of them, and when this thing gets down on power, I just recharge the batteries and throw another set in there. So, all right, now to edge the back side, well, I've got a Ron's Tool brand number 2 edger. And we'll go ahead and edge this backside. Now to finish these out, a couple more steps. I'm going to go ahead and burnish my edges. This is the edge burnishing solution that I use from Hagel's Cowboy Gear. Sarah's been in the leather business for years and years and years. A mentor of mine, and she's come out with this slicking solution that she sells. Works great for edging, and I know a lot of people have their different opinions on edging and how they like to do it. I've been using this now for a couple of years, and I really like it. I just apply it on here with one of those little wool daubers you can buy at the Tandy or any leather supply. Okay, burnishing done. The last and final step would be to punch our holes and go ahead and add some buckles. Okay, we got our template here, and this is what your template's going to look like when you first get it in the mail. It's got the protective film on there. I have not cleaned it up. You're going to need to clean this up a little bit. Just wash it down with water. Maybe use an old toothbrush and kind of scrub out the crevices and the cracks where the flower layout is. But anyway, we're going to use the template here. The template's already set up with the holes we need. I'm going to line up this edge and use something to transfer over the hole placement. In this case, I just have a saddler's awl. And we got a number two punch here. Now over here on this side, you're going to need to punch a hole for your spur button. What I would do, and in the other patterns I have, I've got a hole punched in here on this edge. Now that might be something I should add to this. In fact, maybe I will. We'll just maybe cut a small hole here. Like I said, this is the first time I'm using these. We'll cut a small hole here for future patterns, and make sure you have a hole there that you can lay out and give you a guide for where you need to punch your spur button hole. I'm just going to go ahead and use an old pattern I got, and I'll find where that button punch needs to be, and we'll go ahead and set the buckles. Alright, so what I got here are just a set of common 5/8 chrome plate cart buckles. You can use fancy buckles if you want. Whatever you want to get the job done. You can use a roller buckle, and I believe these are a number 9 rivet. Number 2 punch. We'll go ahead and get these rivets set, and we are done. So there we go. There's our finished product. Like I said earlier, I will make sure and add a hole to the template for that spur button hole on the end. Okay guys, well hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you're watching the outro, that means you stuck it through and watched all the parts, the entire series, and stuck it through to the end. And just for that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a coupon code that's good for any of the leathercraft tools we have on the BuckarooGear website. Today is June 22nd, and the coupon code will expire, let's say we'll let it expire in 6 months. So somewhere in December, it's going to expire, and the coupon code is going to be good for 10% off any of the products in the leathercraft tools section on the BuckarooGear.com website. I really appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. It was exciting to share a little bit of knowledge, and again, really excited for this new product and new product offerings we will have continually, hopefully on the website. We got some new tools here in the new shop. Excited for some new beginnings. Appreciate you watching. Take care and happy trails. And what we have for you today is a video take 3, 4, 25. Damn it, lost it. It occurs to me that being in front of a camera is an acquired skill, and I am definitely not used to it. And I need a haircut.